In Mechieval, daily life is hard. Most people live inside walled kingdoms or outposts. These places are protected, but movement is limited and watched. Many civilians never leave the area they were born in. Travel is unsafe. The roads are full of threats. Trade is limited. It only happens with guardian escort and is controlled. Supplies are given out by local councils. You don't choose what you get, you take what is available. Before we continue, please like the video and subscribe if you haven't already. It helps support the channel and keep the content coming. Life in Mechieval for non-guardians is defined by containment, labor, and dependency on military protection. Civilians live inside walled kingdoms or outposts. Movement is limited and monitored. Most people never leave the boundaries of their assigned sector. There is no personal travel between regions. The roads are unsafe. Trade is restricted to secured convoys under guardian escort. Goods are rationed. Supplies are managed through local councils or order-appointed overseers. Most civilians work in one of 4 areas: food production, mechanical repair or fabrication, basic construction or internal services, water systems, sanitation, textile work, and childcare. Farming is done inside walled outposts under guardian protection. Livestock is rare and heavily guarded. Tools are manual or use basic mechanical. Housing is basic. Families are assigned to units based on size and labor contribution. Most live in stone shelters or metal frame barracks. Others are housed in underground bunkers or reinforced buildings salvaged from the old world. There is little variation. Comfort is not prioritized. There is no formal schooling. Children are trained early for roles in agriculture, repair, or internal logistics. Literacy rates vary by region, depending on how much order presence there is. Some orders allow basic learning, others restrict it to operational material. Daily life revolves around alerts and shifts. Civilians work until alarms sound or curfews begin. Everyone is trained to respond to breach warnings. Drill routines are enforced weekly. If a wall is lost, civilians are either evacuated or left behind, depending on the severity of the breach and the location. There is no currency. Barter systems are managed locally, and trade is controlled. Most exchanges involve food, tools, or labor time. Private ownership is rare. Most items belong to the order or local governing body. Religious practice varies. Some orders enforce their own belief systems. Others allow personal worship, but all public ceremonies are subject to approval. In high-risk zones, gatherings are banned entirely. Entertainment is minimal. People rely on oral storytelling, tool crafting, or recycled recordings from the pre-incursion world. In Mechieval, non-guardians survive by following structure, working consistently, and avoiding attention. Those who resist are either removed or reassigned. There is no civilian militia. Only orders and guardians decide what is defended and who is worth saving. Childhood in Mechieval is shaped by location and which order controls the region. There is no standard upbringing. Conditions vary by kingdom, but all children live under rules, routines, and assigned labor. Most are born inside a walled kingdom or outpost. At birth, each child is registered and placed in a shared housing unit. Space is limited. Housing is managed by civilian overseers or order personnel. By age 5, children begin assigned work. Tasks include carrying water, cleaning equipment, moving scrap, or sorting tools. By age 8, most children are expected to learn a trade. Common roles include crop tending, part cleaning, cooking assistance, waste handling, and wall upkeep. Orders monitor children for strength, attention, and compliance. Those who meet physical or behavioral standards may be flagged for future use by the Guardian program. Education is minimal. Some orders allow reading and writing instruction, but only for operational purposes. Learning is limited to symbols, order protocols, and emergency instructions. Most children are taught to follow commands, recognize danger signals, and maintain workstations. History and personal development are not included. Children are organized into labor groups. They move in units and are supervised at all times. Friendships are discouraged. Attachments are monitored. Any sign of disobedience, inattention, or resistance is recorded. Repeated violations result in removal or reassignment. Punishment is handled on site. All children participate in breach drills. Drills occur weekly. Each child must know the evacuation routes, what to carry, and how to respond to alarms. No explanations are provided. They follow instructions or are pulled from rotation. Occasionally, a child is selected for Guardian training. These children are removed from the civilian registry and transferred to an order facility. No further contact is allowed. If they survive training, they return years later in full armor. They do not speak to civilians. For most children in Mechieval, life is limited to labor, drills, and sleep. No toys, no plans, no long-term goals. Each day is measured by assigned tasks and the presence of the wall. Those selected for the life of Guardians leave their old life and begin a life filled with wars and endless battles with beast. Guardians are the primary combat personnel in Mechieval. They wear the Guardian armor, a full-body mechanical armor rig. It operates on pressure, springs, and reinforced joints. It is the only known equipment that can stand against the beasts. The armor is heavy, restrictive, and difficult to maintain. Once a person is trained and issued a Reaper, they are no longer considered civilian. Some people volunteer, others are selected. All Guardians are trained in the capital of their assigned order. Training includes armor operation, melee engagement, tunnel defense, perimeter patrol, and long-duration combat without rest. Physical failure results in removal. Psychological failure is not documented publicly. Many do not complete training. Those who pass are deployed without delay. Deployment zones include outposts, war posts, citadels, and trench corridors. Most Guardians are stationed near or within the edge of the Beastlands. They do not live inside kingdoms. Their time is spent on defense lines or escort duties. The Guardian armor is worn during all assignments. It is removed only during repairs, medical inspections, or authorized rest cycles. The suit reduces mobility and limits visibility. Heat and pressure build up during use. Joint strain is common. Long-term use leads to permanent injury. Guardians often stay awake for extended periods during major attacks. In some cases, shifts last up to 72 hours without rest. Food is issued in solid rations. Water is allocated by schedule. Hygiene is basic and dependent on suit design and available facilities. In Mechieval, the economy is all about dealing with beasts, limited resources, and just trying to get by. Farming, trade, and currency all exist, but they do so within the constraints of fortification and constant threat. No one trades for luxury. Every resource must serve function. Farming is done in outposts, large walled areas protected by guardians. Fields are tilled by hand or with simple mechanical tools, using methods similar to those from the Old World. Crops are grown directly in soil, in rows, and in open air, but always behind walls and watchtowers. Some outposts are large enough to support grain fields and livestock pens. Others focus on smaller crops like roots, herbs, or legumes that grow quickly and don't require much space. Every farm is positioned for defense, near trench lines, signal towers, and guardian patrol routes. If the outer wall is breached, the farm is abandoned. No land is worth more than the lives protecting it. Every crop is utilitarian. Grain, root vegetables, and hardy legumes are preferred. There is no space for fruit orchards or delicate growth. Livestock is minimal, limited to what can survive indoors or be moved during evacuations: chickens, goats, and small hardy cattle. Every farm is either part of a kingdom's supply quota or directly controlled by an order. Trade is internal first, external only when absolutely secure. Movement between regions is rare and done only through guardian-led convoys. Caravans are slow, mechanical-wheeled, and reinforced for long-distance travel across beast-prone zones. Most trade is conducted between nearby outposts or allied orders. Strategic trade goods include reinforced plating, mechanical springs, rationed fuel stocks, medicinal paste, and suit-grade textile. Civilian-made crafts, art, or clothing are secondary and usually bartered within communities. Larger-scale trade often involves raw materials like iron or nickel ore, essential for guardian armor repair and artillery. Any order or kingdom that can supply refined metals gains influence. Currency does not function like the Old World. Gold has little use. The most valued materials are refined alloys and weapon-grade ore. Items like polished steel gears, forged pistons, or high-tension rods serve as currency equivalents. These can be slotted directly into guardian systems, artillery parts, or critical maintenance. Melt-ready metals are used for payments. Every order has a stamped ingot or trade bar with weight classifications, and local forges accept these in exchange for repairs, housing, or food. Blacksmiths and armorers double as banks. Even small items like weapon springs or gear clusters can be bartered, so long as their make is verified. There are no banks, only workshops, no treasuries, only forges. The economy of Mechieval is built around function, durability, and mobility. In a world that is always breaking, nothing matters unless it can be used to keep the line from collapsing. Religious practice is permitted, but only under strict conditions. Worship is allowed in private. Shrines are tolerated as long as they do not interfere with operational readiness. Public ceremonies require clearance from the local order. Belief systems that promote non-violence or question guardian authority are treated as threats. Any group found preaching withdrawal, refusal to fight, or peace doctrines is disbanded. Their leaders are either sent to deep mine labor or executed. Faith is allowed, but obedience is required. Some orders incorporate belief structures into daily drills. Others ban them entirely to avoid internal conflict. Gender roles are enforced differently across the kingdoms. In some regions, women are required to give birth to at least one child before being allowed to enlist in the Guardian program. The policy is not cultural, it is logistical. Guardian mortality is high and population numbers must be maintained. Each fallen soldier must eventually be replaced. Women are viewed as both combat-capable and reproductively critical. Once a child is born, the mother may then apply for enlistment. If accepted, she is deployed, and the child is assigned to the care of a civilian structure known as the Mother's Union, a designated group of non-enlisted women who raise and monitor the children of deployed guardians. If the mother does not join the war front, the child remains with her. In other regions, women are barred from combat entirely. Orders that follow this restriction argue that the risk of losing both a soldier and her potential offspring is too great. Instead, women are assigned to support roles such as logistics, repair, agriculture, and internal services. A small number of orders allow enlistment without restriction, selecting based only on strength and compliance. These policies are uncommon and mostly seen near capital sectors. Gender is not regarded as identity. It is treated as function. Outposts and warposts are the frontline structures of Mechieval survival. They are not cities. They are not built for comfort. They exist to serve a function, either to produce or to protect. Every outpost begins with a mandate. When an order believes a stretch of land can be reclaimed, a reclamation directive is issued. A guardian unit is deployed to secure the zone, often with nothing but transport haulers, pre-cut steel panels, and the gear to hold a line for 72 hours. The first day is survival. The second day is stabilization. By the third, if the ground holds, construction begins. Outposts are built in regions deemed safe enough to host civilians, usually in contested zones that show no immediate beast activity. They exist to farm, to mine, to draw water, or to produce machine parts. When a Guardian column arrives, it forms a perimeter and deploys prefabricated wall segments, metal panels that lock into soil anchors and brace against light impact. Engineers then expand upward, layer by layer, until permanent walls are formed. These are not fortresses. They are work colonies behind steel. Once the perimeter holds, transport wagons begin moving people in. Families, tradesmen, agricultural crews. They bring seeds, ration packs, portable tools, and livestock kept in armored crates. By the end of the first month, the outpost will be growing food or pulling ore from the ground. By the end of the first year, it will be another dot on the map, a lifeline to a larger kingdom. Warposts are different. Warposts are not for civilians. They are built closer to beastland zones, sometimes within walking distance to areas marked as beastlands. Their purpose is simple: hold the line, raise the alarm, and buy time. Every warpost is a staging point. It may host scouting teams, recovery squads, artillery units, or full orders. It is designed to fall first. When a beast wave breaches territory, it will strike the warpost before anything else. That delay is what saves the outpost behind it. Warposts are surrounded by trenches, metal stakes, and artillery. They are heavily manned by guardians and maintain constant watch, rotating shifts every few hours, with bunkers deep enough to survive a tunnel ambush. These two structures form the backbone of order reclamation. They are the edge of humanity's reach, not settlements, but instruments. Without them, the kingdoms would shrink. Without them, the beastlands would swell. and without the guardians to hold them, neither would last more than a day. This world was not built for peace. It was built to hold. For every guardian who stood at the edge, there were many more behind the walls, tending fields, shaping metal, mending what broke. Some lives were lived in motion, others in quiet labor. But each had its place. To be chosen as a guardian was to leave behind the ordinary. To remain was to preserve it. This is not a story of heroes or legends. It is a record of what remained. Follow for more. Subscribe to stay updated. Drop a comment and let us know what you think. What would you like the next episode to be about?